Well, folks, I guess we're just going to get to two things. One, we're going to get tendies on those Robinhood call options. And number two, we're going to get Donald J. Trump. Yes, Joe Biden is so defiant that he has heard that Congress is trying to push him out by Friday. There were plans that he was supposed to announce his resignation potentially as soon as last week after that horrible debate. That got moved to Monday. That got delayed to Friday. These people can't make up their minds. And a lot of this has to do with murmurings that are going on in the Democratic Party. But Joe Biden is so freaking stubborn, he doesn't get the hint. In fact, now, on the day that Democrats were supposed to go back in Congress and start uniting around trying to push Joe Biden out by Friday, Joe Biden has instead put together a letter for all of us. Now, we're going to go through it, but let's just say, the one thing that this letter reads is A, that Joe Biden has now taken the lead in the Democratic presidential nomination betting odds, and B, you're probably gonna get your boy Donald Trump here. Now, you know me, my thing is, as much as possible, to be in the middle. I just don't think Joe Biden is qualified to be the president. Okay, that's it. I don't think that's necessarily nonpartisan. I actually think that's necessarily partisan. I actually think that's pretty bipartisan. Like, this is a person who is not fit to run this country without a teleprompter or a script or a speechwriter. That makes me very nervous as an American. But out of respect for Joe Biden, I'm going to read his letter while also making it clear that Donald Trump probably just won the presidency. Now, of course, people have to turn out to vote. See, one of the downsides that Donald Trump has created is he's kind of created this lack of trust in the electoral system, which leads a lot of Republicans not to cast their vote because they think that their vote doesn't matter. And then, wow, surprise, surprise, you end up getting Biden again. So, something to keep in mind if you're pro-Trump. Also, if you're pro-Biden and you just, I was talking to Lauren about this. She's like, look, I'd already know, this is her take, she's like, I already know that Joe Biden's not running the country. But her opinion is that she would rather have the White House that we have now, whomever it might be that's running the country, than Donald. Now, she's not like mega opposed to Donald. She's not like a, Trump deranged syndrome person. Those do exist. She's just probably like, if I'm 51-49, she's probably more like 60-40, okay? She leans a little more left. But she's pretty level-headed and pretty neutral. She's like, I already know he's not running the White House. I'm like, all right, well, that's a good point. But don't you want to elect the person who's running the country as opposed to not? And she's like, I don't know that it's going to make that much of a difference, because even if I pick somebody, they're just going to tell other people to do the stuff. So, like, all right, okay, interesting, balanced point of view. Not sure I agree, but okay, fine. I wanted to share her point of view because, well, I also respect her opinion greatly. So, fellow Democrats, now that you've returned from your July 4th recess, see, this is purposefully timed to slam dunk the opportunity for Democrats to get together and basically stop Joe, because that was the idea, that people would get back to Congress and that they'd be able to get together and stop Joe Biden. And the way they would do this is by coalescing, getting more people to speak out against Joe Biden. But what he's trying to do is he's trying to shoot ahead of the running deer and stop that from happening by trying to shut it down before the fire grows out of control, so to speak. I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere that's directed at Congress, frankly, I'm firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end and beating Donald Trump. I've had extensive conversations with leadership of the party, elected officials, rank and file members, and most importantly, Democratic voters over the last 10 days or so. I've heard the concerns that people have, their good faith fears and worries about what is at stake. I'm not blind to them. Believe me, I know better than anyone else the responsibility and burden the nominee of our party carries. I carried it in 2020 when the fate of our nation was at stake. I also know these concerns came from a place of real respect for my lifetime of public service and record as a president, and I've been moved by the expression of affection for me. In other words, people are like, hey man, you're old, like, just check out. And he's trying to turn this into like, I appreciate y'all acknowledging my experience. It's like such a perfectly politically written weapon. That's really what you have here. All I could respond with is saying clearly and unequivocally, I won't be running again if I did not absolutely believe I was the best person to believe Donald Trump. Yes, we know that Biden thinks that, but it's not a matter of does Biden thinks that. It's a matter of what America believes. And if America doesn't believe that Biden is capable of doing this, then you lose by default. And I strongly believe this. And I really feel like I'm being neutral by saying this. If Donald Trump wins and we do not have a recession, people are going to look and go, Donald 2020, 2016 to 2020, good Donald. Donald 24, 28, good Donald, no recession. Absent obviously COVID. People are going to think, oh, good economy, stimulus. And then people are going to go, oh, now in 2028, do I want Republican or Democrat? Well, Joe Biden 2020 to 24, bad. Republican, good. Republican. I'm not saying you think that way. You know me. I think the people who watch my channel are very smart. I'm just saying, like, en masse, like, I think that's how simple it's going to be. And I'm not, trying to make fun of any particular person or anyone. I'm just saying, like, I think that's what it'll come down to is people go, good economy during Trump 16, good economy during Trump 2024 on absent recession, right? And then you get 2 more terms of Republican. So I think if Democrats lose this election, you have Republicans for the next 12 years. And I know that some Democrats have this fear that Donald Trump is going to become a dictator. Well, like, you're setting that up. I don't think that's going to be the case. But my point is, you're basically giving that opportunity by not having a better candidate than Joe Biden. Anyway, somebody... This is so bad, but it's just turning into a meme right now. Somebody texted me. I'm like, hey, are you going to be around? And I texted them that, rather. And they're like, oh, sorry, I just got in midnight last night. I'm like, what are you, Joe Biden? Okay. Sorry. Again, I think we can all agree, I really believe this, whether you're a Democrat or Republican, that Joe Biden is not the best for the country. But I understand. And if we're voting solely on party bases, fine. It is what it is, I suppose. We had a democratic nomination process, and voters have clearly spoken clearly and decisively. I've received over 14 million votes, whatever. Process was open to anyone to run. Only 3 people chose to challenge me. Yeah, I mean, just to be fair, like, you also didn't have a debate, right? Like, it's so hard to fight an incumbent. Ridiculously hard to fight an incumbent in against the Democratic Party when you don't have debates that people can openly and freely fight within, right? So that makes it very challenging for somebody to actually say, yeah, vote for me. How? They can't see you versus Biden. So of course the incumbent is going to win. That's like almost always the case. That hasn't changed. So, I mean, that's just sort of the historical fact. Anyway, but this is not just the Biden admin. This has been true for years, and Republicans do this as well when they have a Democrat or incumbent. They generally don't do debates. I declined to do that, blah, 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 say the process doesn't matter. Well, the process, is rigged when you're an incumbent, so the party just coalesces around, but whatever. I have no doubt that I can and will beat Donald Trump. Okay, well, I do. We have a historic record to run on, 15 million jobs. Yeah, okay, well, first of all, we're counting a lot of undocumented workers here. We're coming out of the hole of COVID, so, this is a little silly. Manufacturing is also starting to slow down. We're seeing ISMs that are starting to be, indicate signs of a recession coming. Okay, great. He's fixing the insulin comment that he made during the debate because he suggested $15 and it was really $35, whatever. I mean, $20, I get it. It's a big deal. But now all of a sudden, it's coming through that Biden is discussing a second debate strategy with donors. He's trying to ramp up donation money, especially since a lot of it started drying up. They had to sort of cancel that Wisconsin a fundraiser event. Not a good sign when you can't raise enough money to actually keep your fundraisers going. So that's not too good. And we expect Donald Trump's vice presidential announcement to come by next Monday, so stay tuned for that. That should be very entertaining. Who's it going to be? Betting markets seem to think it's going to be JD Vance. I kind of think it'll be JD as well. Somebody like, I don't think you can go Vivek. A little too strong of a ticket, you know? Anyway, some more slams on Trump over here about, Trump and oil. I mean, look, the Republican Party, very much so. They're a fan of drill baby drill, Keystone Pipeline, something that was nixed by the Biden administration on day one of the Biden admin. So, the expansion, obviously. So Trump and MAGA Republicans want another $5 trillion in tax cuts for rich people so they can cut Social Security and Medicare. I mean, this isn't true. Like, both candidates have mentioned that they don't want to cut Social Security and Medicare. But it is true that Donald Trump is looking for more tax cuts, not necessarily for rich people. Remember, the last tax cuts really benefited a lot of people. Of course, wealthy people pay more in taxes so they could benefit more on a dollar per dollar basis. Sure. Now, some things to consider as well. You've got, let's see here. What do you think American seniors, when MAGA Republicans want to take away their $35? See, I don't know if that's a strong argument, this idea of, MAGA's going to come take all your entitlement programs, and MAGA's going to come take your cheap insulin. I think these are somewhat weak arguments. But they're political talking points, and that's really what we're going through right now. Political talking points on the Biden administration versus Donald Trump. So continuing here, it looks like we're the ones lowering costs for families. We're protecting the freedoms of Americans. I don't know how well that's going to land. Mostly because you have had so much inflation, and I understand both candidates are responsible for that. But the inflation really feels like it happened under the Biden administration. And so I don't know how well that's going to resonate with Americans, but I do think a vote for Biden is also still a very strong vote just against Trump. So I do recognize that. I do recognize that as well. Protecting the freedoms of Americans, decided to take, they decided politicians should make the most of personal, what is this? They have decided politicians should make, this has to do with Roe v. Wade and abortion. Yep. We're the ones who will bring real Supreme Court reform. Right, so there is some murmuring that Democrats want to pack the Supreme Court and basically, instead of having the justices you have now, the 9, add in 3 more, and then you have 12, and then if those are 3 Democrats with the other, you try to tilt the favor in having more Dems on the Supreme Court, because whoever packs the Supreme Court would then be able to assign that party of justices. Problem with that is it would set a precedent, so I don't think that Democrats will do that, because it would set this precedent that, any president can just pack the Supreme Court. Before you know it, you'll have 50 Supreme Court justices, and things will just be a little kooky dookie. So that'll be, I don't really see that happening. So Supreme Court reform, I think that'll be interesting. Though Biden has suggested that a couple justices may not last for another 4 years. Nobody really knows what he means with that, although it could just be that they're aging out, which is kind of rich coming from the Biden admin, but whatever. So anyway, we have 42 days until the Democratic Convention and 119 days to the general election. Any weakening of resolve or lack of clarity about the task ahead only helps Trump and hurts us. I mean, yeah, to some extent that's true. The longer Biden stays in and the longer people think he's going to step out, it is true, the more it helps Donald Trump. But in fairness, also, I don't think Biden's going to win here. I really don't. But, what do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm kooky here. All I know is I just took some tendies. I took some profits on those Robinhood calls. Thank you very much. And if you want all my buy-sell alerts on stocks, make sure to join me in the Stocks and Psych group at meetkevin.com. You can learn all the moves I'm making, the entries, the exits, you name it, the trends that I'm spotting. No guarantees we can make money, but the goal is always to make money. Spot the trends, buy the dip on those trends, build a position, and make some dollar holla. So if you want to join those, join before Friday when the price goes up. Email us if you have questions at staff@meetkevin.com. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Goodbye and good luck.
Why not advertise these things that you told us here? I feel like nobody else knows about this.
We'll try a little advertising and see how it goes.
Congratulations, man. You have done so much. People love you. People look up to you.
Kevin Paffrath there, financial analyst and YouTuber. Meet Kevin. Always great to get your take. Even though I'm a licensed financial advisor, licensed real estate broker, and becoming a stockbroker, this video is not personalized advice for you. It is not tax, legal, or otherwise personalized advice tailored to you. This video provides generalized perspective, information, and commentary. Any third-party content I show shall not be deemed endorsed by me. This video is not and shall never be deemed reasonably sufficient information for the purposes of evaluating a security or investment decision. Any links or promoted products are either paid affiliations or products or services we may benefit from. I also personally operate an actively managed ETF. I may personally hold or otherwise hold long or short positions in various securities, potentially including those mentioned in this video. However, I have no relationship to any issuer other than HouseHack, nor am I presently acting as a market maker. Make sure if you're considering investing in HouseHack to always read the PPM at househack.com.